Hey guys, what's going on? Joe Podge here. Today I am going to be doing my first suggestion made by my friend Brennan. I'm a little under the weather, sorry about that. Just hi here. My friend Brennan, in one of the comments to my videos when I said send me what you want me to react to, said, hey, can you read the Operation Northwoods article on the Wikipedia page and react to it and give it your thoughts? So we're doing that now, and yeah, I have my girlfriend's phone, thanks to my girlfriend for lending me her phone, so I can read it. So yes, because this is my phone, I'm not using the camera, this is an iPhone. So, Operation Northwoods. Let us begin. There is a picture, a JPEG of the actual operation. I'm guessing the memorandum that I can click on and read, but I don't want to give it all away just yet, so I'm going to read it right here. So Operation Northwoods was a proposed false flag operation against the Cuban government that originated within the U.S. Department of Defense, which is DoD, and the Joint Chiefs or Staff JCS of the United States government in 1962. So it was an operation going against the Cuban government. I'm trying to break it down for you. It called for the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, or other U.S. government operatives to commit acts of terrorism against American civilians and military targets, blaming them on the Cuban government and using it to justify a war against Cuba. That's pretty bad. I know that the United States, we've done things that we're not necessarily proud of, and we've done things to kind of blame things on other people or countries or unions and whatnot and make it seem like they did it, and we're definitely not the greatest country in the world, I can tell you that right now. We have problems. Anyone that says we have the greatest country in the world is the biggest liar and ignorant person on the planet, let me tell you that. So, okay, so in Operation Northwoods that I can gather so far was United States going to commit terrorism and do a bunch of bad things within the states to then blame it on Cuba so they could start a war with Cuba. That's what I've gathered so far. The possibilities detailed in the document include the possible assassination of Cuban emigre or whatever, sinking boats of Cuban refugees on the high seas, hijacking planes, blowing up a U.S. ship, and orchestrating violent terrorism in U.S. cities. I read Kennedy in cities and I put cities. Wow. The proposals were rejected by John F. Kennedy. Good. That's absolutely ridiculous. Communists led by Fidel Castro had taken power in Cuba in 1959, which aroused the concern of the U.S. military due to the Cold War. So communists took power in Cuba in 1959, and U.S. military was concerned about it when the Cold War was going on. The operation proposed creating public support for a war against Cuba by blaming it for terrorist acts that would actually be perpetrated by the U.S. government. To this end, Operation Northwoods proposals recommend hijackings and bombings, followed by the introduction of phony evidence that would implicate the Cuban government. It stated, quote, the desired resultant from the execution of this plan would be to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances from a rash and irresponsible government of Cuba, and to develop an international image of a Cuban threat to peace in the Western Hemisphere. So, basically what that is saying is that the United States, like I said in the very beginning, is they're going to blame it all on Cuba. They're going to commit acts of terrorism and whatnot, and then blame it all on Cuba so they can start a war, just destroy them. Several other proposals were included within Operation Northwoods, including real or simulated actions against various U.S. military and civilian targets. So, I mean, it's kind of, you've seen like the ISIS mock executions where they start cutting at the guy's throat with a knife, but there's no blood, no wound. It's just a mock execution or mock event, so it's saying that there would be simulated acts of terrorism too, along with real ones like setups. So the operation recommended developing a communist Cuban terror campaign in the Miami area, in other Florida cities, and even in Washington, D.C. The plan was drafted by the Joint Chief of Staff, signed by Chairman Lyman Lemnitzer, and sent to the Secretary of Defense. Although part of the U.S. government's anti-communist Cuban project, Operation Northwoods was never officially accepted. Like I said, that's great. That is absolutely terrible. It was authorized by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but then rejected by President John F. Kennedy. Like I said, good. According to currently released documentation, none of the operations became active under the auspicious of the Operation Northwoods proposals. So let me sum it up again. Basically, that's interesting because, like I said, I know that we've done bad stuff. The United States has done bad stuff. I didn't know we've gone that far within our government system and our structures to kill innocents and stage fake acts and real acts of terrorism and then blame it on another country. That's just terrible. Just go fight the country. If you're wanting to start a war with Cuba, just do it. Geez, putting us out to the public makes us look terrible. But that's very interesting because I know that there are a lot of things that the government doesn't want us civilians to know, and there are a lot of things that are kept behind closed doors and closed curtains, and that if the government told us everything that they've ever planned or things that they know and information they get on a day-to-day basis, I think we would be living our lives in fear. So things like this, like us doing terrorist acts and killing people and staging these acts, that we do need to know. But I think things like daily threats that we get from other nations, or maybe the Coast Guard stopping a nuclear missile that no one found out about, that's good to know, but at the same time, that helps ease stress a bit. And because I think if we knew everything the government was doing, and that we had all the branches of the military doing, I think we'd be pretty scared if we knew everything. So that's, Okay, let's see if there's anything else. That's very interesting, Brennan. Thank you for sending me that. Origins and public release. The main proposal was presented in a document titled Justification for U.S. Military Intervention in Cuba, a top-secret collection of draft memoranda written by the Department of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, JCS. The document was presented by the Joint Chiefs of Staff to Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara on 13th of March 1962 as a preliminary submission for planning purposes. The Joint Chiefs of Staff recommended that both the covert and overt aspects of any such operation be assigned to them. The previously secret document was originally made public on the 18th of November 1997 by the John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Review Board, a U.S. federal agency overseeing the release of government records related to John F. Kennedy's assassination. A total of 1,521 pages of once-secret military records covering 1962 to 1964 were concomitantly declassified by said review board. I promise I know how to read. These are just weird big words. Appendix to Enclosure A and Annex to Appendix to Enclosure A of the Northwoods document were first published online by the National Security Archive on the 6th of November 1998 in a joint venture with CNN as part of its 1998 Cold War television documentary series. Specifically as a documentation supplement to Episode 10, Cuba, which aired on the 29th of November of 1998. Annexed to Appendix to Enclosure A is the section of the document which contains the proposals to stage terrorist attacks. The Northwoods document was published online in a more complete form, including cover memoranda by the National Security Archive on the 30th of April 2001. Let's see if there's anything else. So this there's a list that has like bullet points or numbers that basically what the plan what would happen if it took place. Harassment plus deceptive actions to convince the Cubans of imminent invasion would be emphasized. A series of well-coordinated incidents will be planned to take place in and around Guantanamo to give genuine appearance of being done by hostile Cuban forces. The United States would respond by executing offensive operations to secure water and power supplies, destroying artillery and mortar emplacements which threaten the base. And there was another Operation Mongoose, which was is related in the same aspect that we wanted to plan terrorist attacks. There's another operation like that, Operation Mongoose. So that's very interesting, Brennan. Thank you for sending me that. Like I said, it sucks when a nation we live in that thinks it's all great and prosper does things like this that are absolutely appalling. It's just bad. I'm glad that didn't go. I'm glad that didn't come to fruition, and I'm glad that John F. Kennedy stopped that, because of course he wouldn't. That's terrible. I hope that the people that made that plan are in prison or dead. They're probably all dead. That's just terrible. You don't do that. You do not do that. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, subscribe, comment, like, unsubscribe, dislike if you want to. It doesn't matter to me. I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks again, Brennan, for sending me that. Bye-bye.